What's good, YouTubers and YouTubettes? This is JBsports back again with another one. Top 5 welterweight Jaron Ennis will be stepping inside the square circle January 7th to take on Jaron Chukhadzhiann for the IBF interim welterweight title. His fight will be the co-feature to Gervonta Davis versus Hector Luis Garcia. That fight will be for Davis's regular WBA lightweight title. So it's going to be some minor league belts on the line. But this is going to be a big card, a good start of 2023. As you have one of the biggest attractions in the sport of boxing, Gervonta Tank Davis, who's advised by Al Heyman. Don't know if he's still with Mayweather Promotions. He was on Twitter several days ago and said that he was waiting on his termination papers, so he's trying to get out from under Floyd Mayweather Jr. and Leonard Ellerbe. Remains to be seen if he's able to finagle his way out of that contract. With all that being said, nothing changed for his network goal. He's going to be fighting on Showtime pay-per-view. This is probably what is his 4th or 5th consecutive pay-per-view fight. The guy does great numbers not only on pay-per-view but at the gate. And Jaron Ennis will be able to gain access to that fan base that Gervonta Tank Davis has. He'll be able to put on, in my opinion, a devastating performance over Jaron. The guy's from Germany. I know a lot of people gonna make fun of his first name, saying he's got a woman first name. I have never seen the guy fight, so I don't know how good the guy is or how bad the guy is. All I know, he's ranked in the WBO for a reason, not for a season. But he's ranked in the IBF for a reason and not for a season. Ranked number 3. Ennis is ranked number 1. The number 2 is vacant. So those are the top 3, the top 2 guys in the IBF as far as contenders goes. It's interesting to see that Errol Spence Jr., who holds titles in the IBF and the WBA, got the 2 young guns trying to set the stage to take on him, as he is the biggest name at welterweight. He is the money man at 147 pounds. And both of those guys, who was ranked number 1 and number 2 respectively, that being Virgil Ortiz Jr. and Jaron Ennis, have both decided to go in different directions and go a different route with a different sanctioning body. You know, Jaron Ennis via the IBF and Virgil Ortiz via the WBA, who a couple of weeks ago petitioned the WBA to take on regular WBA champion Matthias Stoyanis. That would be a big fight if Virgil's able to defeat Stoyanis and set up a fight with Errol Spence Jr. That would be a huge fight at Cowboy Stadium. That would be probably a fight that would do around 60,000, and it would do great numbers on Showtime, DAZN joint pay-per-view. Now, Showtime and DAZN are collaborating on the Ryan Garcia versus Gervonta Tank Davis fight, as both of them are successful in their next fights. So they have shown through that they're able to work together. So that could set the stage for a potential fight with Spence versus Virgil Ortiz Jr. Now, if Errol Spence Jr. decides to take on the top contender in IBF, well, he'll take on the winner of Jaron Ennis versus Jaron Chukhadzhiann. So we will see what happens, and we will see what transpires. With all that being said, this leaves Terrence Crawford on the outside looking in, because he has a fight lined up this Saturday versus David Avanesian. And if he's unable to get a fight with Errol Spence Jr., which in my opinion is highly unlikely at this point, he'll be looking to fight his number 1 contender. And that would be Virgil Ortiz Jr., who's number 1 in the WBO. But like I said earlier, he has decided to go the WBA route and fight Matthias Stoyanis. They're in negotiations. If they couldn't come to agreement, fight will go to a purse bid. And the number 2 guy in the WBO, Jaron Ennis, has decided to go the IBF route, as a couple of weeks ago, his father and trainer, Bootsy Ennis, petitioned the IBF to make Jaron Ennis the mandatory for Errol Spence Jr.'s IBF belt. IBF instead chose to order Ennis versus Jaron. And that fight will be for the interim IBF title. Now, after Errol Spence Jr. has his next fights, when all likelihood would be Keith Thurman, who's the #1 contender and mandatory fighter in the WBC. Once he's successful in that fight, or if he's successful in that fight, he could look to go up to 154. And if that's the case, the winner of this fight between Boots and Karen will be elevated to the IBF welterweight champion. So we will see what happens, and we'll see what transpires. Now, you go down to WBO rankings. Let's take Virgil Ortiz out the mix because he's going the WBA route. Let's take Jaron Ennis out the mix. He's going the IBF route. The next highest available contender in the WBO is Alexis Rocha, who fights for Golden Boy Promotions. Oscar De La Hoya has had a lot of favorable things to say about Terrence Crawford here recently, so maybe he will be looking to line that fight up with Terrence Crawford versus Alexis Rocha and put that fight on the zone. That could be a big fight on the West Coast, or maybe they could have that fight in Terrence Crawford's hometown of Omaha, Nebraska, which is where he will be fighting David's adversary on December 10th on BLK Prime. So we will see what happens, and we will see what transpires. But it's very, very interesting when you talk about the top 5 welterweights in the division. I have #1 Errol Spence Jr., #2 Terrence Crawford, #3 Jaron Ennis, #4 Keith Thurman. Or you could switch it up either way. 3, 4 Ennis, Thurman, Ennis. However you want to look at it. You want to go by resume, you maybe put Thurman 3 and Ennis 4. But you go by eye test. Who's fighting at the highest level right now? It's obviously is Jaron Ennis. But Jaron Ennis hasn't been in there with the creme de la creme of the heavyweight division. This will be not the opportunity to see that taking on Karen, but if he's able to get this win on January 7th and get the fight with Errol Spence Jr. for the IBL strap, along with the WBC and WBA strap, then he will be able to put his skills on full display versus the creme de la creme, the top dog, the shark, Errol, the true Spence. So we will see what happens, and we will see what transpires. Very, very interesting developments in regards to the welterweight division, as Jaron Ennis, along with many, many other welterweights, have been biding their time, waiting on the whole Errol Spence Jr. Terrence Crawford saga to come to conclusion, and it finally has, as Terrence Crawford decided to take the upfront money from BLK Prime that he was not getting from the PBC, and take a lesser fight, a fight that in all likelihood he's not going to make as much money versus his adversary than he would make fighting Errol Spence Jr. We don't know that for a fact, and I believe that's one of the reasons why Terrence Crawford did not take the fight. He was like, you would think the fight's going to do well. You would think I'm going to make $10 million, but it's not guaranteed I'm going to make $10 million. There's a guarantee I'm going to make $10 million fighting the adversary. I got $5 million in the bank right now, and I'm going to get $5 million this week in the lead up to the fight. So this is guaranteed money. What's the old saying? A bird in the hand beats 2 in the bush, and that's what Terrence Crawford is living by to this day, as he signed back-to-back contracts with Top Rank Boxing, which entail him getting a guarantee for each and every one of his fights. So we will see what happens, and we will see what transpires. Follow me on Facebook, Gerard.Briscoe.3551. Like, share, and subscribe to JB Sports, the man, the myth, the legend, and I'll holla.